You're listening to Nightmare on Film Street. The current time is 6:66. Traffic is clear ahead from here to the afterlife, but it's hell outside. For the next hour, you're on Nightmare time. So, let's give a grave welcome to our hosts, Jon and Kim.
What's up, fiends, and welcome back to Nightmare Alley, the spooky little side street podcast and the regular Nightmare on Film Street feed. I'm Jon, and this week we have something really special for you. Earlier this month, we were back at Panic Fest in Kansas City, Missouri, celebrating, among other things, the 25th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project. The found footage movie that changed everything. One of the earlier found footage movies, but also just one of the scariest goddamn movies ever made. One of our favorites here at Nightmare on Film Street. Kim and I had a chance to sit down and talk with co-director, writer Eduardo Sanchez, and also actor Michael C. Williams, who plays Mike in the movie, who's responsible for one of the scariest moments in modern horror, just standing in a fucking corner, and also one of the funniest moments. He's the guy that kicked that fucking map, and obviously it was a blast chatting with the two of them. They were in town to celebrate the anniversary, but they were also bringing a movie to Panic Fest called Ghost Game. Eduardo Sanchez was the executive producer in that film. Michael C. Williams was one of the actors. He even won the Best Actor award at the festival. Kim and I sat down and talked with them about the legacy of the Blair Witch Project, all the hijinks and careful planning that went into making this movie, and also about the state of found footage and if there's anything new to do in that subgenre. We're big fans of found footage here at Nightmare on Film Street, Kim especially, and it was a pleasure talking with the both of them. I'm going to toss the original theatrical trailer that was playing back in 1999, where this movie destroyed the box office, shattered records, one of the highest grossing horror movies of all time, and still, if you ask us, one of the scariest movies we've ever seen.
This is my home, which I am leaving the comforts of for the weekend to explore the Blair Witch. I can see you.
I'm real excited about this. Thank you for the
I'm
opportunity.
very glad.
This area's been haunted by that old woman for years.
I don't know why you have to have every conversation on video.
Because we're making a documentary.
Not about us getting lost. We're making a documentary about a witch.
I know.
We're lost. Admit that first.
No, I know we're not lost.
They're all over the place.
So how do we know it was people?
Well, even if it wasn't, I'm not going to play with that either.
And it's all because of me that we're here now. Hungry and cold and hunted. Just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom.
Tell me where you are, Jon!
I'm gonna die out here.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Congrats on the 25th anniversary. Holy shit.
I know, it's crazy.
Congratulations on getting older.
Yeah. Congratulations on staying alive.
But thank you. It is
Yeah.
a fun year. It's been fun.
Yeah. And we're always amazed that people still want to talk to us about it and watch the damn movie.
Yeah.
So we never expected that.
No.
Yeah, and you guys are here with, you're here with a new cut of the movie?
No. It's the same old cut, but we are working on a new cut that's going to be released later this year.
Oh,
not like any new scene. Well, we're going to do deleted scenes, but the new cut's going to have. We actually went back to the masters, the high 8 masters, and retransferred everything. And it's about as clear and sharp as it's ever going to look. But there is a difference in what people have been seeing. Like what we're going to see tonight. There's a big difference in what we're going to release. So we're really excited about it.
It's like you buried all the tapes from under the house.
Yeah, we exactly. Well, we happen to have the tapes, the high 8s, and so they retransferred them, and they look beautiful.
Those tapes held up.
They held up. I don't know how, but they held up after 25 years. 27 years. Yeah, they're still, and very little dropout, and so it looks good.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, every movie's got like a new 4K restoration coming out like every week, but you could just as easily put out a version that looks worse, and I'd probably buy it.
Just keep putting it out on VHS. And people,
Well, that really was the way that we meant people to see it. It's
like this bootleg.
Yeah, we never thought it was going to be in the theaters or whatever. So we were like, it has to be perfect VHS tape with no label on it, and like you just pop it in. You're like, what the hell is this?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna do that, and we're doing like a couple hours of deleted scenes, I think. And then a new making of documentary of we're really excited about.
I'm sure you guys had a lot of extra footage, right?
22 hours all told we shot.
22 hours, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. Like, I know there's one scene that I'm looking forward to editing. There's the when you freak out and you lost it, and it was just like, we loved it, and it stayed in the cut for a long time, and then we were like, we just can't. It's just too much at this moment. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that because I remember doing it, and first of all, it was like an acting exercise for 8 Days in the Woods, which was like this. They gave us this playground in which to play, and we had the best cast you could ever ask for. Like, just so giving and like checking in with each other, making sure like, hey, wait. The other thing about it is shooting on high 8. It was like, let's just try that again. That felt inauthentic or whatever. But that was like, that the emotions were there. We were raw. It was like very close to the end. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to ride this wave of emotion.
Well, it was the day.
It was my mind a little bit.
Yeah, it was the scene where Heather finds Josh's like remains in that little stick like bundle. And she doesn't show you, but you kind of feel that she, like, you catch her crying and then you kind of go off and on your own little thing. And it was a cool scene. So they were putting a lot of cool little things back in, but and we wish we would have done. It would have been great to. I mean, you could easily do like a 3-hour cut. Maybe break it up into 30-minute chunks, maybe. But I mean, there's just a lot of good stuff. And like Mike said, it was 22 hours of footage, but it wasn't like there. Not a lot of multiple takes. It's all just unique, just mostly them arguing and just walking through the woods, but a lot of really great stuff that we had to cut out.
They did so much editing around arguments because there's enough. I mean, obviously the whole thing is generally an argument. So.
I feel like that's accurate though. Like after the cigarettes are gone.
Yeah. By the way, I did actually, I am proud of the moment where I say, I found these cigarettes all the way at the bottom of my pack. Well, that's the character, but the actor was very prepared to know they'd be out for 8 days. Plenty of cigarettes.
You were well.
I was not going to run out of those things.
Yeah, but it's
But yeah, like when you get to like day 8, like how much of that is like what's the split? Like, is it a 60-40 split of like real frustration and anger about having to sleep in the woods for a whole week?
I will say I enjoyed the experience so much, and I, as an actor. Yes, it was uncomfortable. Yes, it was frustrating, but that's what you kind of enjoyed. Like how often you get to live in this imagined world where you're being hunted. So, and the closer you get to end of anything, I don't care if it's a set where you're, improvising or a set where, you got a camera on sticks for 3 weeks. Towards the end, there's this sort of feeling of, oh, this is going to be over soon. I'm going to try to enjoy this. So it was a different kind of enjoyment. So it's a tough question too, because we get a lot of like, were you really scared? Which is a blessing because that means people thought we were, but a little bit of a curse too because that means people thought we were. And so if when you're an actor that back then it was like we became like reality TV stars where it's like, are you actually trained actors? It was like, yes, I went to school for this shit, So it could be it was a little bit, and we used our real names, so it was like that. I mean, now it's clear, but 25 years ago,
a lot of people thought you were dead.
Yeah,
well, they marketed it that way. Yeah, when we got the same thing. Like we would go to meetings in LA, and they'd be like, "Have you ever seen a real script?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, we've made other movies with real scripts and stuff." So it was. I mean, look, it's a testament to like what a good job we did. That people thought it was like real footage that we just fucking went out and shot, which is partly how we did it. But there's a lot of work to get that natural feel.
I mean, just for you guys to go through not only the casting that you went through, but just the pre-production that nobody would know. I mean, these guys like scouted these woods down to the T, to the movement, to the track we would be on with a GPS that we wound up having. But before GPS was GPS, I mean, it was like Greg Hale's military tool that we...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like hunting GPSs that, nobody had. We didn't have cell service in those woods.
Right.
And they had it was challenging because they at that time they had like an error ratio built into it because they thought it was going to be used by terrorists for like missile attacks or whatever. So the GPS had it was off by like 100 feet always, and it was just randomly. So we were always dealing with, hey, we got this, So anyway, that's just a detail.
You're always getting lost in the woods anyway.
We were always getting lost in the woods. Yeah, but then they figured it out after a while that we were like having them zigzag.
Yes.
After a while, we would have them zigzag just to keep them, moving the whole day. And, I don't know, somebody was like, man, we figured that out. We're just hanging out, waiting until
we knew where to zig to. Yeah. It's the same log. Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw that coming.
Yeah.
So how much of it was like prompts on okay, we're coming back to the same log, and how much of it was like in the script?
I mean, all of it, mostly everything was in the script. Like, it was basically like a script without dialogue, and they never read the script. Like, we never showed it to them. But they had some clues based on the callbacks. Like, we did some callbacks. Like, we did the scene where Josh gets taken away, and the other two are, like, sitting there listening to Josh, yelling from the woods. We did that as a callback in New York just to kind of, during the audition process. But even that, like Mike, really, the sound guy was supposed to be the one that disappears. And at the last minute, we were like, let's pull Josh out just to kind of, throw a curveball in there. And it worked out really well. But so they had no idea what was going to happen. And the notes were, we try to be as like, detailed as possible without ruining, the effect. Like the stick figure thing was like, go to this place and look up into the trees. And react to what you see. And in the house one, you always say like, what the, like you read that note, you were like, what?
Because we moved. So first of all, there was like probably 3 sets of notes at least each day. And we called them waypoints that they programmed into the GPS. So we'd get to a waypoint. There'd be a milk crate with a Dayglow orange bicycle flag in it with some fresh batteries for cameras, maybe a little bit of food, and these little note containers.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Depends on how late. By the end, there was no food. But then we get in a car on like day 7, and we all know like tomorrow's the last day, and they're like, don't talk, don't say anything. All right, we're in a car just to go to different woods. This is weird. So I get this note, and it says, tonight you're gonna, hear a noise, and you want to follow the noise all the way up until Heather's with you, and then run all the way down until, so you can kind of ditch Heather. So they had given us walkie-talkies in case like somebody broke a leg or whatever, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So I get this note. We're sitting in a new batch of woods with a tent set up, and I'm like, I don't want to mess up the end of the movie. I don't know what this note means. I walkie Ed. I'm like, Ed, man, I'm really uncomfortable with this note. I don't know. Like, is it a hill? He's like, you'll know. Just get off the radio. You'll know what it is. I'm like, dude, it's the last night. He's like, shut up. Get off the radio. Trust me. All right, cool. Turn the walkie off. Go to sleep. Wake up to like the boombox of Josh's voice, like slowly dissipating, backwards into the woods. And I follow it, of course. Heather's with me. And that's the most authentic line that I deliver in the film is when I look up, I come through some bramble and I look up and I just say, oh shit, it's a house. And in some cuts, that line is in, and in some cuts it's not. It's really strange. Yeah, I don't know why. Like there's some versions I've seen, depending on like who's playing it, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, the line is, oh shit, it's a house. And I meant it. I was like, oh, because in that moment, I'm like, I got to go all the way upstairs, wait for Heather, and then I felt terrible. One of the worst feelings, because the producers are going to do something. They're going to, whatever. They wind up tackling me, but, I'm like, okay, like Ben Rock is in there with a stick man. He's going to, stick it in my face. Or
Like, maybe they got a real witch.
Right. So running downstairs and her screaming after me is just like, you feel so guilty. And also like, what's going to happen around this corner? So anyway, Greg Hale decks me. He literally like grabs me and brings me to the ground. And I have this relief of being done with this film. Thank God. And I actually started crying, like with like tears of joy of like, releasing all that tension. Like, oh, I can stop now. I can just be me and we can be happy. It's so beautiful. I'm so happy. He goes, shut up, go stand in the corner. Go stand in the corner. I'm like, what, man? He's like, go stand in the goddamn corner. That's all true. Like whispering this in my ear. And they just like pick me up and shove me in the corner. And I just kind of cock my head down and she comes down screaming. So turns out that I believe this is how it happened. When because I had the high 8 at that point. So when he decks me, my thumb hits the button, the recording button. So the only sound is from but obviously the boom's not out. She's got the Super 16. I've got the camcorder. He hits me. My thumb hits the button. All of her screaming, the end of the film, we have to go back and redo it, right? Because my hand hit the button.
Well, that and all. I mean, it was lucky because it was like one of these things where like two things went wrong. The light on the camera, on her camera, went out. We were always having problems with that belt.
Remember.
So like halfway down the stairs, her light just dimmed out, and that, you know, with 16 millimeter, there's no image. It's a night. So she went all the way down, and then we realized, oh my God, the light went off, and we tried to get it back on. It didn't work. You know, we didn't have another extra belt. And then we realized, oh shit, the record. So we didn't even have the take. So we went back the next night, and we were really worried because, you know, that was a hell of a moment that we didn't capture. But Heather,
my gosh,
just went right back into it. It was like, shit.
I mean, that screaming my name at the end of the film is her on the second night after a day off doing that. Like, to me, that's just brilliant.
Yeah. So, yeah, we worked it out. But, there was a little bit of movie magic there that had to happen.
Wasn't that not the original ending you guys had planned? Or at least I'd read that.
That was the, I mean, originally we had no ending. We actually went into the shooting with no ending. Like, we knew it was going to be in the cellar of that house.
Yeah.
But we didn't know if it was going to be like, you know, somebody, you know, laying dead or somebody being, you know, hanging. We had no idea. We're like, how the hell are we going to end this? And, you know, I always tell people, like, if we had actually like a real budget, we would have messed up the ending, man. We would have had like some creature there or somebody floating, some hokey stuff. So a couple days before we shot it, we came up with the idea of, like, you know, just somebody standing in the corner without, you know, acknowledging the fact that the person you've been with is yelling your name, and you're just standing there for some reason, you know? So, you know, we came up with that. And then later on, when Artisan bought us, they were like, hey, we want you guys to reshoot, you know, do some alternate endings. So we went back. They hadn't paid us yet, so we actually made some money. Like, we're like, oh yeah, we'll do some alternate endings. And that's when we went back and we shot these alternate endings, which were all, you know, we didn't really do our best with the endings. We kind of liked our ending, and then
You did it on purpose.
sort of on purpose. Sort of on purpose, yeah.
I mean, and even if they did it well, it's
yeah. And then
people have asked me over the years if I was levitating with our ending, because there's this black, you know, void of light under my feet. So, like, and they tried to get us to do one where I was levitating.
Yeah.
There was one of me on a giant stick figure, like a crucifixion.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It was bizarre.
Well, there was, and I remember just having a problem with that harness.
You remember after
trying to hang you? I was like,
don't talk about
that. Feels so bad, man.
I did have kids afterwards, so things worked out.
Those harnesses, like, every time I see a scene with a harness, I'm like, oh, that's real fun, man. That's not fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they luckily, you know, Artisan let us keep our ending. But yeah, it was kind of, again, just like everything else with Blair Witch, there's a lot of, like, just lucky coincidences and just kind of things aligning, and, you know, the planets aligning, and the right actors, the right filmmakers, the right location, the right marketing, the right time for the web, you know, the World Wide Web to be a certain way, the right, you know, 16 millimeter and high 8, the right, you know, everything. Like, people are always, like, somebody was telling me, you know, that ending where his sound, the sound is only in the basement and you hear her, that was so brilliant. I'm like, well, that's just technically the way it would be.
Yeah.
Like, she's not going to have the audio recording going. She has that. It's enough just carrying that damn
getting
camera.
Closer and closer to the mic.
Yeah, she's getting closer to the only audio source, which is the high 8 camera. So that, it's so cool. And that was just like, you know, again, like one of these things where it's just like, yeah, that's just the way it has to be. There was no like, oh, it's going to be cool or whatever. But again, like everything in this film was just a lot of really, you know, fortunate coincidences and serendipity.
Yeah. It's one of the things, it's one of my favorite parts about the movie because it's so authentic. Like, the camera's never in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and there's not like, oh, we have to keep recording this. We have to hang on to this camera.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the later tropes that come to the genre, because really it kind of is the first one of the found footage genre. Like, was found footage even a term when you guys were?
No, we called it, we always called it POV cinema, like, you know, that's while we were making the movie, or like, yeah, POV or first person cinema is what we used to call it. And then later on, people started calling it found footage, and we kind of fought it for a little while. But then I was like, all right, well,
I mean, the beginning of your
we'll call
movie
it found
says we
footage.
found this.
I know, I know. And I
You said that a few weeks ago. We
Yeah.
happened to be at a con together, and I was like, oh my God, it does say it right in the title.
Yeah.
That is like how they got this.
Yeah. And I realized that later on. I was like, that's where they got the damn name.
A year later, their footage was found. That's funny. Sorry.
Did everybody kind of get what you guys were selling and what you guys were doing? Like, did they understand? You're like, yeah, it's gonna be really authentic. Like, they're gonna be holding the cameras. Like,
Nah, nobody got it. I mean, like we did this like an investor tape, and it was a really cool little like 7-minute kind of like before we even cast Heather, Mike, and Josh, and it was a really cool little thing, and everybody would be like, oh my God, that's awesome. And we got it basically to raise money, and we raised nothing. We raised no money because I just think people. I mean, first of all, it's hard raising money for a movie, period. But I think people were just like, "What? Like, is it a home movie or and not what with? And you're gonna have like 60mm footage too?" I'm like, and people were just not understanding. They kind of understood what it was the feeling of it because we had a lot of enthusiasm for it. But I think people were just not like later on when we got agents and stuff. They were like, hey, why didn't you guys go and shop this? I'm like, are you guys crazy? Do you really think that anybody would have given us money to make this movie? And they're like, yeah, of course. Well, now because you've seen the movie, but without seeing the movie, there's no, I mean, even friends, like, I mean, we were, trying to get money, a little bit of money from friends and people we knew, and they were like, nah, I don't get it or whatever. So it was just kind of it was so experimental, because and we didn't know it was going to work. We did everything the way we thought, get the right actors and get the right location and shoot it a certain way or whatever. But we had no idea that, how it was going to work.
Which is kind of funny because like nowadays you're just like, oh, we want to make a movie kind of like the Blair Witch Project. Like we've got something that we can point to. Like this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Like you didn't have like documentaries or even something like Man Bites Dog. Like, I don't know.
Man Bites Dog, but also I mean like people are we're really inspired. Like what was the prototype, and really like for me, I mean I haven't really talked to Dan about this, but the prototype for me was Spinal Tap.
Okay.
Because it was a fake documentary.
Yeah.
And it was like there hadn't been really any fake documentaries that had made any kind of commercial success.
That's true.
And then and obviously those movies, those earlier movies from our childhood, and that show like In Search of, like really it was supposed to be like an episode of In Search of, like a long feature length version of In Search of, but really Spinal Tap was the only thing that we could kind of point to and say this is kind of what it is. It's not a comedy, but it is a fake documentary where it still works. That they're actors, and that people are just playing characters, but it still works as this kind of it does feel like a documentary. So that was the only prototype we really had, because we hadn't seen Cannibal Holocaust, which is this almost like the same exact premise as Blair Witch. We had never seen that movie until afterwards. And probably would have never made Blair Witch if we had seen that movie, because we would have been like, "There's that idea has been done. Let's move on to something else." So, but yeah, there was nothing around. It was just kind of like let's roll the dice.
That's the New Jersey Devil one.
No, that was that was
around.
That one was last broadcast, right before us. Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer to that one and going, "Damn it!" Because we had sat on this idea for a few years. Well, we finished film school, and Dan and I were working on other films. And later, like in '96, we're like, "Hey, let's get back to this Woods movie." And honestly, like right, we're starting to edit the movie, and the trailer for last broadcast comes out. And we're like, "Jesus Christ!" Again, like we sit on this idea. Like if we had just done it a year earlier, we would have been the first ones to market. And we were just like devastated for a while, and we couldn't do nothing. We didn't see it. We didn't see the film, and we just, the trailer was the only thing we had to gauge it. And it was just terrible. And luckily, eventually we saw the movie, and we liked the movie, but it was very different from Blair Witch, and we were able to find our own find the market, the voice in the market. But it was, for a while we're like, can't believe it took another idea.
That's gotta be tough. Yeah.
Is that what inspires you guys to like really lean into like the guerrilla marketing aspect and really like market it like, oh, we're gonna go full realism on this, like outside of the film itself?
It was mostly artisan. I mean, like we had, the website we had built before before Sundance, before we got bought, was very like reality based. Like it had the timeline, it had like fake, like this is Mike Williams and he went to Montgomery College, which he never went. This is a girlfriend. Actually, Steph was
one picture. It's Stephanie. One actually my wife.
Yeah, my girlfriend was played his girlfriend in one of the photos or whatever, and it was just a photo from the after party, from the rap party. Yeah, and here's Mike with his
funny thing. Dean and my son, he's actually at film school now, Syracuse. He's a freshman, but he's like he was looking into some Blair Witch stuff recently. He's like getting a kick out of going down. Actually, it's pretty cool because now my kids are at the age where like, well, that's pretty cool, Dad. So he sent me the 2 pictures.
Yeah,
he looked at the website and he goes, Dad, Jennifer, because that was the name of my girlfriend. Jennifer's looking pretty different in these 2 pictures. And he sent me just a couple weeks ago the 2 different pictures. But that's so funny.
Yeah, it was. So basically everything was reality. Like we were treating it like if we actually had this footage, how would the website be? And then when Artisan bought us, they were like, we want to market this as as real. And we were like, are you sure? Because we were always afraid of the backlash. We were afraid of like lying to people and people getting pissed off that they had paid for a movie that they thought was real.
And some people did.
And some people did get pissed off, But then, later on I realized that like, well, film marketing is all about lying. Like how many times have you seen a movie in the theater? Like, God, they showed all the good parts in the trailer. It wasn't even the same movie as the trailer. Like, so there's a lot of dishonesty going on in Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's
not a true story.
Yeah, they market it the way that
where it took place.
Yeah, exactly. But no, and the movie was, while we were making the movie, that was a thing. We wanted to make it where like you couldn't tell that it was not real. Like we didn't have any, like, in nighttime shooting, they always light the woods. There's always these weird lights coming. You're like, you accept it. Yeah, you accepted it. There's always fog or whatever, But for us, it was like, no, we can't have any of that. First of all, we couldn't afford the light woods like that, and we just wanted everything to be real. Like even the high 8, like people were like, well, why don't you shoot it on a higher, like Beta Cam or something higher resolution video? And we were like, well, those students would not have access to Beta, and those cameras, they would not shoot with that. They just wouldn't, So we just went back to like, what would they be shooting in 1994? And that was like the highest consumer grade video you could buy at the time. So we're like, yeah, they would shoot the behind the scenes with this. So it was, it was easy for them to kind of, guide us down the road of marketing it for real. But we were really afraid of the backlash, and we felt bad for the actors when they told us, we're going to keep the actors out of the limelight for, a couple of weeks. Like I have a media blackout for them. And I was like, that sucks, man. And I've told a story before.
Good one.
It's like, I remember there's a line outside the Angelica in New York, because we were like exclusive there for a couple of days or a week or something. I can't remember. But it was all sold out, and there's a line of people to get in. And
people camped on Angelica overnight.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we're across the street, and Mike's like looking at me, and I'm like, man, that's amazing. He's like, yeah, man, it's amazing. But I can't believe I can't go over there and like enjoy the premiere of my movie. I'm like, yeah, man, too bad. I'll go over there and get the glory. So Dan and I kind of were like, it was extra work for us, because we were like we were kind of like the, the spokesmodels of the show, of the movie, until, they came out like, oh my God, they're alive. And then that was the big surprise. And,
sometime in August, I'd say like a month.
Yeah, it took a while. It wasn't just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they wanted to wait until The Sixth Sense came out, and they're like, we really got to clobber that one.
I remember the big one that summer was Runaway Bride, and seeing, for me as a young actor, it's still thrilling if it were to happen, and it may, to see, Blair Witch Project and Runaway Bride, and like in that order on the top, like on the multiplex 10, like ours is titled first. It's right in my neighborhood. Like going way back to what Ed said before, like no way in a million years would you think it's going to be in a movie theater. Yeah. Even after seeing it, it's like, oh, this is cool. Like when we got into Sundance, I was like, this is the pinnacle of where we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
It's going to stay small, and it's going to be really exciting. And then it just took on a life of its own as we sit here 25 years later and talk about it.
Yeah, and I remember going to the theater like the first weekend in the local Orlando theater, and like half the screens were Blair Witch, because they had the ability to. This is before digital, but they had the ability to like use one print and go from one theater to the next. And they actually showed us, which was really cool. They had these long things down the hallway where one print would go through the projector and then come out and go down the hall into the next projector. Wow. And that's how they would, they turned 3 prints into 6 theaters or 9 theaters. And they, every movie's offset by like 5 minutes? Yeah, by like a couple of minutes by the time it takes the film to get to the other part.
Amazing.
And they just kept adding screens because they were like, well, as soon as we sell out another one, we add another one because, we're not selling these other. So, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like you see on all those things like Blair Witch Project, like, again, the theatrical thing was just so, pie in the sky for us. It was just like, there's no way this movie is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be in a few cities.
This high 8 movie is going to be in a theater. Are you crazy, man? Yeah, but it was, again, it was like one crazy thing after another that summer.
Yeah, I know we gotta get you guys out of here to get to your screening, but like one last question.
Our screening for Ghost Game, go check it out.
Yeah. That's right.
Yes. Yeah, you guys, like the Blair Witch Project is like, for a lot of people, just like such a pinnacle of found footage filmmaking. And like, I think we're all pretty big fans of it. Like, do you still think that there's space to innovate in that subgenre?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even like, what's that movie that, The Devil or something, and that's out right now, that's kind of, it's basically a
Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil, like that's kind of found footagey, right? Yeah. It's just basically like I haven't seen it yet. I heard it's great. But yeah, I think, I'd love to see, like, even like a couple years ago, Host, that movie. I was like, that's cool, man. Yeah. I think there's like, ways to innovate. And actually, Greg, my partner, and I are working on an idea right now for like an exorcism movie that's going to be, found footage, but kind of a weird, like our new take on it. So, look, I'm excited that there are still people out there kind of using, whether it's our film or something that, followed after, or just the found footage genre in general, like, motivating them to do some cool stuff, because it is like, it really is a genre where, like, you don't have to have a set. You don't even have to have a real camera. You know what I mean? You don't have to have real actors. Like, you can really run with the genre. You know what I mean? Like, if you could have, no, you don't need to have Tom Cruise. You don't need to have name actors. You do need great actors for sure. And look, we've all seen like bad found footage movies where, like, all right,
it's really carried on the act.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and the whole thing is about the actors, So, but again, it lets you you don't have to have a full crew. It's just, it's an easy thing to do. But it's hard to tell a really good story with that, but it is easier to at least, get into it. And I love, like, seeing the new stuff, the new directions it takes and stuff.
I think the hardest part is, yes, it can be innovative, and I love that it like kind of lives on and it has taken on a life of its own. And there's a whole genre for it. I think the hardest thing to replicate would be, hey, this is real. Have you heard about this? We need to go see if these kids actually died.
Yeah.
That's a once-in-a-lifetime generation experience. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I look forward to the day, because the one thing I'm envious of is an audience member who was able to go to a theater and go, what am I watching?
Yeah.
I've never had that experience.
Yeah, it would have freaked us out,
I
think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it definitely is about, the marketing really did help, but also, again, like what I said was not right. It is about the actors. Like, you have to have.
Oh, you can't take it back.
You have to have great actors like Mike Williams in your film.
No, I mean, listen. The other thing, the blessing of it, and this, I always say this is true. Like, just to hang out with this guy, and it was like a family. Like, we're connected, and there were some like real joys and real traumas through this thing for all of us. And a bunch of us got together a couple weeks ago, and to kind of go back in 25 years and just like look across and talk about this with you, dude. I love this guy. I love part of this family, this film, and I love the fans and how excited and energetic they are around this thing. And like, what a blessing to have been part and be a part of it. But it's like this guy and Dan and Greg's, brainchild that they were, a bunch of college kids years ago. So just tells you guys, like, anything's possible. So
yeah,
just keep dreaming and doing it.
Yeah. And I always say I feel so blessed to have been a part of it. And it was like truly like the most collaborative thing I've ever done, because without any of there's so many little puzzle pieces, the actors, us, the editing, just the internet, all these things that had to come together. And without any of those, it wouldn't have worked, and we just got lucky that we cast the right people and we shot it in the right place and we marketed it at the right time on the internet.
It really was the perfect time because any more modern and like the internet world would have been too savvy.
It would have been too big. Yeah. So it was big enough to like spread the bad information, the disinformation, but not big enough to like, actually check up on the fact that they didn't, that they were actors and stuff. Yeah, we got to go. But thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, really, guys, so much.
Yeah,
really great.
Appreciate
chat.
Big thanks again to Eduardo Sanchez and Michael C. Williams for taking the time to chat with us. I don't know about you guys, but I am stoked for that new release of the Blair Witch Project. I can't wait to see what new footage they've unearthed. And keep an eye out for Ghost Game. It's a Dread original. It's going to be coming soon. You'll be able to check it out in no time. We'll be back next Thursday with another regularly scheduled episode. Hit us up in the Nightmare on Film Street Discord at nofspodcast.com/Discord. I'm always 5 minutes away from talking about the Blair Witch Project anyway, so if you want to tell us, if you want to share your thoughts on this movie with us, we'll happily talk to you about it. Personally, I think it's truly one of the scariest movies ever. I think it's one of the best movies in general ever made. I'll defend it to the day I die. I know it's not everybody's bag. Found footage can be very polarizing for some horror fans. But I'm confident that the Blair Witch Project is going to stand the test of time. We'll see you guys in another 25 years to celebrate the 50th anniversary. But until then, stay creepy.
It appears you made it out alive. But we'll get you next time. Help us to grow the horde. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you subscribe. More terror can be found lurking on our website, nofspodcast.com. Until next time, stay creepy, fiends.